Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to another episode of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. In the previous episode, we completed episode 3, The Adventure of the Runway Room. Today's episode, I'm going to get into the beginning of The Adventure of the Cloud of Kokoro. If you have today's episode, make sure that like, press the the channel. And so I double check back on what was happening if we were to pick the guilty verdict, and nothing happened. So let us begin. Next chapter.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
We could have used the previous cutscene just to make him go have that as an introduction instead of ending it off back there. That would have been good. I wasn't expecting to go start off like this. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No. Not at all. And it was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious. I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all that gaslight twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time in the SS, bro, yeah, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except when I learned that we owe £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance was so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In the lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Good morning, you two. Is the big boss? Big boss! Oh, yes, well, good morning. Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Sasada-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of an imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a rebuttable defense. You may consider the test pass. Oh, no longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now? Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that it won't be a problem. Another case? Already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't seem dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with it? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? We flash back into this. I don't want to talk what the hell happened. But the real question who was the real murderer? Who was the real murderer? Why did the guy decide to throw in so many lies? We have no idea what's going on. We didn't have a clean-cut trial. Ended up in a farce. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth, and then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. What? What? Mr. McGilded is dead? I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. That was him? I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime, which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already. The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful. The man must have been slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. The bailiff really needs to pay attention more. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. Gill did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Will we actually get some closure here? Who knows? We'll figure it out in today's episode. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. We should have taken off the monitor to get the money. We should have got the money. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was wow. Mr. Naruto means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of the Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. I learn all you can. The most advanced in the world. It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. Circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that You did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. Advantage, I don't know where I'm getting now. And that only can be attributed but to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth, which is precisely why I prepared the new case for you two I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. Ah, so the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was, well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, I don't know if I could face standing in the courtroom again after Mr. McGillicud's trial. Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh, if the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. So, where exactly are we going? Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now about 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. Compatriot. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Cosmo always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh. Another thing? Continue. On the way here on the steam shed, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he had ever made it to. Your time is up. Well, thank you for your alignment discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything about this to me. I'm messing up again. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. Glad it's not the gumshoe. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So, I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell. There's something very important that I have to do? Kazuma-sama? What did you mean? I wish I knew. Honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Examine. Could we trouble you? What voice? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it?
What's the weather got to do with anyway? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippity about the weather doesn't get every English gent eating out of your hand, you know. I'm just messing up the voice now.
But Susato-san told me it was foolproof.
I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm free having to give the likes of you talking to.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry.
Can you imagine what the other officers there would be saying, Haven't seen Greg's son anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the big books these days. And all because some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation of the yard going to tatters.
There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryonosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it?
It's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine.
Unbelievable! How did she pull that off?
So, Lord Stronghead has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson?
What's the matter with Susato?
Does this detective's name mean something to her? Inspector Greg... Are you perhaps... the Inspector Gregson?
He's eating a crepe. You're acting like you know this man, Susato, but he's London's detective.
Oh, I do know him very well, in fact.
Very well?
Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rand's Magazine?
That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Holmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry.
Really? You rival the great Mr. Holmes? That incredible? Well, I don't know about that. Mr. Holmes is a professional like myself, of course, but he does come out with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Holmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words.
That's his highest praise?
Well, Mr. Holmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he is not. And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now.
That's great, isn't it?
I have to admit, to start with, what was a little, well flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof.
Well, that's wonderful.
No, it's not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors? Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper, so I can't exactly what they're saying. But I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. Okay. I get the feeling the detective could be very hard work.
Oh dear, perhaps the sudden rise to fame does change people.
So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated.
I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. As a young woman was talking about along the pavement on the Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she still laid up in hospital unconscious.
That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with the Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryonosuke. You've angered her now.
Anyway, after some time, something of the whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question. Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barak von Zeyck. No! Sounds like you heard of him then?
Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord von Zeyck. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself.
The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barak von Zeyck, who we faced in the court only yesterday.
Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he?
Why do we have a flashback to this? When von Zeyck sends for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. What the heck? And in every single trial in which he's been in the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname, I suppose he earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it?
Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord von Zeyck, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
Huh, and what of it?
Oh, well, I think that means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you?
What do you mean?
He just put the thing in his pocket. What happened to the bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Magnus McGilda came a cropper in that omnibus when it went up to flames. So you can't really say you saved the defendant, can you?
What are you saying?
Look, if von Zeyck could get the dirt stick on everyone, he made him be a miracle worker. That's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic.
You just put that thing in his pocket.
I have a good long thing about that if I were you.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
Can you at least tell us where we need to go? Right, well, I filled you in as requested. I'm nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there.
It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place.
I have yet to see anything connected to that. That's correct, ma'am. If you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself.
You've branded him a criminal already?
He's as good as shaking like a leaf in himself. He is. It'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way.
Inmate 53. Thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too.
But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in the cell, and I for one wouldn't find the sight of that funny.
So,
if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself, and I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help?
Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I'm your judicial assistant.
Thank you. So then, shall we?
Yes! Let's go!
And with that, we'll end the episode right here. Like, comment, subscribe, Chronicles TV, and I'm signing out.